Section 3.2, we're looking parallel lines and transversals. Our essential question: when two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, which of the resulting pairs of angles are congruent? So we have our picture here. It says if two parallel lines are cut by a transversal, then, so corresponding angles are congruent. So for example here, 1 and 5 are corresponding. They're going to have the same measurement. Alternate interior angles, so we look at 3 and 6, those are also congruent. And we can get there by using our corresponding if we wanted to show that, and we'll look at that a little bit later on. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. Right, that would be like 2 and 7. Vertical angles, which actually aren't based on the parallel lines, 1 and 4, we already went over those. They would be congruent. That's something we should have already known. And then consecutive or same side interior, this is our different one. If we look at 4 and 6 here, okay, those angles would be supplementary. And remember, supplementary means that they add up to 180. So example 1 asks us to identify the measure, or they give us one angle and they ask us to find the other ones, right, and explain our reasoning. Stop moving. So there's a bunch of ways you can do this. I'm going to pick on certain ones and I'm just going to explain it verbally, but how we get around. So I have the 125 here. If I look at angle 1, they're vertical angles. So that has to be 125. Right? If I look at angle 2, that's a linear pair with this one and a linear pair with this one, which means they add up to 180. So then that's going to be 55. When we're doing these, that should then be all of my numbers. It's just a matter of matching them up. So 1 is corresponding with 5. Right? So since 1 is 125 and corresponding angles have to be congruent, 5 is also 125. Okay. If I look at, we'll jump around here, 4, and we'll say angle 4 we'll do next. 5 and 4 are consecutive interior angles, so they have to add up to 180. So that's 55. Okay, it's also vertical with 2, which is 55. So that's a good indication. Okay. 7 is alternate exterior with 1, meaning they should be equal. So that's 125, and it's vertical with 5, so that works. 6, right? Alternate interior with 4, so they should be equal, and that should be 55. It also corresponds with 2, which is 55, and they should be equal. Right? It's also vertical with 8, so 8 is 55. So when you're looking at this, I need to use one of our 4 things, the corresponding alternate interior, alternate exterior, or consecutive interior, to get from one pair of lines to the other. But after that, I can just use linear pairs and vertical angles. But there's other ways I can do it. So sometimes, a lot of that for your reasoning is, what do you find easiest? So 5, do I see that as vertical to 7? Do I see that as corresponding to 1? Do I see it as alternate interior with 125? Do I see it as consecutive interior with 4? All of that is a matter of how you see it. Okay? But when we're doing these, we're just going to have 2 numbers. Right? So when we come down to example 2, they tell us that 1 is 105. Okay? So 2 is going to be a linear pair with that. That's going to be my other number. that number is going to be 75. So now everything is 105 and 75. Just a matter of which one it matches with. So 2 and 3 match, so that's 75. 1 and 4 match, that's 105. 4 and 8 match, we'll jump down here. 4 and 8 match, so that's 105. 8 and 5 match, so that's 105. 3 and 7 match, so that's 55. And 2 and 6 match, so that's 55. Oops, not 55, 75. Going back to the previous problem there. Previous problem was 55. This problem 75. So all my numbers are 105 and 75. And I should have a total of 4 of each. Remember, 1 is 105, so there's 4 that I filled in as 75, 3 filled in as 105, but I know 1 is 105. So I should have the same number as well. Okay. Another thing we can do with these, we can flip it over, okay, is we can solve problems based on these. The key thing to pay attention to here is what relationship do I have? And sometimes you need to think through it a bit. So example 3, right, I have 113 and 3x minus 4. Those are alternate exterior angles. Alternate exterior angles are congruent. So I have 113 equals 3x minus 4. Once I set it up, I'm just solving an algebra problem. I add 4 to both sides. I get 117 equals 3x. Divide by 3. And I get that x is 39. Example 4 says find the value of x. Now here, these two don't have a relationship. There are several things I can do there. To match them up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at this and this as vertical angles. So this is also 3x plus 33. And these two are consecutive interior. That means they add up to 180. So 78 plus 3x plus 33 equals 180. Again, once I get the setup, I'm just solving. So 3x plus 111 equals 180, adding the 78 and 33. Subtract the 111, I get 3x equals 69. Divide by 3, I get x equals 23. Example 5 asks me for x and y. Now this picture is a little bit more complicated, but these are my parallel lines here, right? So for x, I'm looking at this line that's coming down on a slant there as my transversal, and these lines as my parallel lines. So 4x and 52 are alternate interior. And sometimes it helps if you, oh, you can't see what I'm doing there. Right? So I'm looking at this line and this line as my parallel lines and this line as my transversal. So 4x and 52 are alternate interior. That means they have to be congruent. Sometimes it helps if you draw them out separately, right? So I have 4x here and 52 here, right? And that's what I'm looking at. So I set those equal. 4x, I divide by 4. I get x is 13. And then the 3y plus 2 I have here. I have this transversal coming down this way, but if you're using that, realize this angle works, but this whole angle up here. All right, so I'd have to use the 4x with that. And I think that's really all we have to use. We don't have anything over here, so we can't do alternate interior that way. So we're going to have to use that part there. So remember, the 4x is 52. We know that from here. So for y, I have 3y plus 2 plus 52. And that's this whole angle, which is equal to this. So that's equal to 90. So then, combine like terms, I have 3y plus 54 equals 90. 3y is equal to 36. So then y is 12. So watch where your lines are. Again, if it helps, draw it out. Right here I have this. So these are the two angles that are 90. And then I'm looking at what makes that up, which is those two. Example 6. Okay, we have these two lines that are parallel. So x and 45 are alternate interior. So x is just 45. Nice and easy. And if I come down, that's with this transversal. If I look at y with this transversal, y and 85 are corresponding. So y equals 85. Okay. And that is our types of angles that that are formed, and how we know if they're congruent or supplementary with parallel lines.